Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping right into your latest stack of sources. Looks like mostly articles from CoinMarketCap contributors this time. The crypto space, well, as you know, it never sleeps. It's just a constant stream of info.
It really is.
So our job here with these deep dives is basically to help you cut through some of that noise. We take the material you've gathered, pull out the key stuff, the interesting bits, and try to help you piece together what's going on.
Exactly. And this stack is great, all published around June 17th, 2025. Very fresh. It really shows the variety out there. We've got market moves, specific coins, company plays, even, real-world uses, plus a couple on the regulatory side, and even geopolitics.
It's quite a mix. So the plan is to unpack the specific stack, see what it tells us about crypto right now, specifically for you. Okay, let's get into it. All right, first up, always interesting what's happening on the big exchanges. You've got a headline source here from tokentopnews.com about Upbit, XRP, BTC, and ETH emerge winners. What's that about?
Yeah, so according to that source, those three XRP, Bitcoin, Ether, they were singled out as winners on Upbit.
Winners how? Like price performance?
The article suggests it's about their performance or maybe just their prominence on Upbit specifically.
Yeah.
That's a major exchange in South Korea, so it often has its own vibe.
Okay, got it. And sticking with Upbit for a second, there was another source you had about AltLayer, ALT. It connects to exchange activity too, right?
That's right. That one's from crypto.news. It talks about AltLayer's token, ALT, seeing a really sharp rally.
How sharp?
The source says 35% up on June 16th, just before the article came out. It formed what they called a notable breakout candle on the charts.
Okay.
And this happened, according to the source, right before it was expected to list on Upbit, which the article calls South Korea's leading exchange.
Ah, the classic listing pump anticipation.
Kind of looks like it. The source uses it as an example, how that expectation of a big listing can really move the price. That breakout candle term just means it pushed decisively past a prior resistance level, suggesting momentum.
Right. So Bitcoin's doing well on Upbit and potential listings driving rallies for others. What about other specific tokens mentioned in your sources? Chainlink, Link came up?
Yep, Chainlink. The Captain Altcoin source you flagged noted a, 2.93% upward move for Link. That brought its price to around $13.69, according to that report.
Okay, a modest move. Anything else?
Well, the source also mentioned that some market watchers, the one cited in the piece anyway, were seeing an emerging technical pattern. And they felt there was a growing sense of momentum recovery for Link. Technical patterns, chart stuff that some analysts use to predict direction.
And did that source mention any specific analyst targets?
It did, yeah. It explicitly said one analyst mentioned in the piece eyes $32-$38 for Link.
$32 to $38.
That's the target mentioned. Important to remember, as the source frames it, that's one analyst's view based on their technical reading, cited in the article.
Got it. Okay, shifting gears a bit from tokens to bigger players. Corporate adoption, Metaplanet, the Japanese firm. What was the story there from your source?
Yeah, the CFN source. This one shows some real institutional conviction, it seems. It reported Metaplanet seriously increased its Bitcoin holdings,
How much?
reaching what the source called a landmark 10,000 Bitcoin total.
10,000, wow.
Yeah. The article detailed the latest purchase mentioned, 1,112 BTC, bought for about $117 million.
And they're not stopping there.
Apparently not. What's interesting, the source highlights, is their plan includes issuing $210 million in bonds, specifically to fund more Bitcoin buys.
They're really going all in. And the source made a comparison, didn't it?
It did, and this kind of puts it in perspective. The source stated that Metaplanet's total Bitcoin holdings had actually surpassed Coinbase's.
Surpassed Coinbase's own holdings.
That's what the article claims. So as the source presents it, this isn't just pocket change. It's a major strategic treasury allocation to Bitcoin by a public company.
Okay, that's significant. Now, it's not all just trading and balance sheets. Crypto tech has other uses. You had a source about Vibrate. What's that about?
Right, the Canal Coin source. This one's interesting because it shows blockchain being used, outside of finance. Vibrate, according to the article, offers blockchain-powered music analytics for artists.
Music analytics, how does that work?
The source says it uses data for over, 11 million artists. And it even mentions positive community reactions to what they're doing. It's basically an example from your sources of the tech being applied practically in an industry like music, maybe for more transparent data.
Huh, interesting application. Okay. Your sources also touched on some, let's say, broader topics, wider implications. There was one about a warning from Senator Warren.
Yeah, the Cryptopolitan news source. It reported on comments Senator Warren made. According to this article, she warned tech billionaires could create stablecoins that track people's spending.
Tracking spending.
That was the concern raised, as reported in the source. The article linked this warning specifically to something called the Genius Act.
The Genius Act.
Yeah, some proposed legislation that, the source implies, deals with stablecoin regulation. So just to be clear, we're relaying what the source reported. A warning from the senator about potential privacy issues with stablecoins connected to that specific legislation.
Understood. Reporting the report. And there was another one touching on geopolitics, something about Polymarket bets.
Right, the crypto's news source. This one reported on activity over at Polymarket.
The prediction market platform.
Exactly. The article stated that Polymarket bets on U.S. strength against Iran surged to 67%, then drop.
So people were betting on that.
Apparently. The article explains Polymarket lets people bet on future events. This source was just reporting the ups and downs in the betting odds for that specific potential geopolitical event as seen on the platform.
Okay, so it's reflecting betting sentiment, not actual intel.
Precisely. As the source itself suggests by its nature, it's data from a prediction market, what people think might happen. Not any kind of official statement or confirmation, just a reflection of crowd sentiment via betting.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. We've looked at your sources covering top coins on Upbit, rallies tied to listings, analyst takes on LMEK, big corporate buys like Metaplanet, a real-world use case in music, plus these reports on regulatory warnings and prediction market movements. What does this mix tell you, or rather tell us, about the crypto space right now?
Well, connecting those dots, what really stands out from your sources is just how diverse the influences are. It's not just one narrative.
Right.
You've got dynamics specific to certain exchanges like Upbit.
Yeah.
You have price action possibly driven by technicals analysts are watching. Then there's serious money coming in from institutions making long-term bets. Plus, the tech is still finding new uses, like the music example.
Yeah.
And all of this is happening against that backdrop of, regulatory conversations, potential policy changes like the Genius Act mentioned, and even global events filtering through things like prediction markets.
So it's complex.
It's definitely multifaceted. These sources together paint a picture of an ecosystem that's buzzing with activity on many different levels, reacting to all sorts of things, internal and external.
Absolutely. It really hammers home that understanding this stuff isn't just about reading price charts. It's tech, it's finance, it's corporate moves, policy debates, even like collective psychology reflected in betting. We really covered a lot from your stack today, dug into quite a few different angles reported in these recent articles. Exchange winners, token moves, Metaplanet's big buy, Vibrate's music tech, and those broader context pieces.
Yeah, we saw some specific potential market drivers highlighted in the sources, and also touched on those complex issues reported on, like the stablecoin privacy concerns raised, and how global news can ripple through platforms like Polymarket.
Hopefully this deep dive gives you, our listener, a clearer, sort of more joined-up view of some key things happening right now, all based directly on the great info you brought together in these sources.
Thinking about the sheer range of these sources, market data, company strategy, tech applications, prediction markets reacting to world events, it leads to a really interesting question, I think. Given all these different types of information floating around, technical charts, big announcements, real-world usage news, regulatory talk, market sentiment gauges, how do you personally go about weighing all those different signals when you're trying to form your own picture of what's happening in crypto?
That's a great question to ponder. Thanks for bringing us this fascinating stack of sources for today's deep dive.